Greetings and welcome back to yet another episode of the Daily Run, and today we're playing as Maggie. So today's Daily Run was really good, I would say, and that doesn't usually happen with Mom's Food Daily Runs, but I feel like today's one was just what I asked for not too long ago. I just wanted a regular daily that goes to Mom's Food, doesn't have any obvious signs of breaking, there's really no any obvious ways to go forward, and you basically just end there. And this is something that kind of goes in tandem with what I was saying, I would say quite some time ago, where I wanted the daily basically to end at the goal that you're going, that you couldn't find a way to go forward, or maybe that you can get so much stage bonus just for maybe teleporting to the dark room from the sacrifice room. And I feel like all of those things are kind of encapsulated in this particular daily, because maybe if you find a way to go forward, you'll be very heavily rewarded in this one and you'll really kind of get ahead of everyone else. But for the majority of cases, everybody didn't find a way to go forward, so other things were a bit more important in just determining the end ranking. And I feel like that's, so I would say it's a good realization to have, and it's just a nice way to really look backwards and say, well, I didn't find a way to break the game, maybe I played a little bit sloppily, but overall I still played decently, and I still managed to rank in a pretty decently ranked spot. Actually, I think I was like top 50 at the end of this one, and I basically just went to Mom and did boss rush, and that was basically that. There really wasn't any other ways to go forward, and of course, just because of that, I feel like it's a much more rewarding experience, because I feel like I did my best to really and try to explore the rooms or try to go fast enough. Obviously, at a certain point, you also get something like Brimstone, and you're rewarded for not basically taking too much damage penalty. There are a few instances of maybe I would say unavoidable damage and a very nasty boss rush, so I mean, it might seem like it's a little bit unfair, but when you think about it, everybody has to face the same unfair rooms, and I think it's better for the average skill if the rooms are harder, because that means that if the rooms are harder, the discrepancy between good and bad players actually comes into account more, and it just, I would say, makes a bigger difference in the end score, and that can really, I would say, kind of predict the outcome in some sense. So I hope I'm making sense about what I'm saying right now. But really what I'm trying to say is that it was a very enjoyable run that basically went to Mom, had no shenanigans, of at least not that I noticed, and it just basically had everything I think a good run should have. Now, of course, there are always some problems, like we didn't have a lot of consumables. For some reason there were so many red hearts on the ground, and I just obviously couldn't pick them up because I don't have any, but there just really weren't any bombs or keys that I could have used to really kind of get going. And even though I had the pay to play, which you would think that in a regular scenario would be just kind of broken, because it will allow people to really kind of deviate and just really differentiate which items they would get for the treasure rooms, it wasn't that big of a problem here. It actually turned out to be, I would say, one of those things which really didn't have that big of an effect, and I think the majority of that was just because there weren't many consumables. You still need a key to get in there, and you need bombs to start blowing it up. Sure, you can use your coins to trade it, but then you're actually trading quite a sizable amount of points away, and maybe it doesn't seem like a lot, but I think like 99 coins in total gives something like 3,000 points, and that's actually, I would say 2,000, let's say 2,000, and it doesn't really matter, it's 2,000 or 3,000, but because you're going to Mom's Foot and you're only doing boss rush, you're looking at something like 20,000 points in total, and those 2,000 points can actually make up a big difference, and you know, who would think that, but it actually can be a very risk versus reward kind of play, deciding if you want to actually trade the money in a treasure room to get a better item, or if you just want to stick with what you get, or maybe just ignore it completely. And all of those things combined, I feel like, again, make for a very interesting and compelling argument for some of the mechanics which I think don't really have a place in their game. Like, I was very adamantly about, against, I would say, reroll machines, but seeing them in this light, where maybe you have to take a risk, where you have to invest a lot of your money and a lot of your points in, is a nice way to spin on things. And let's say that the reroll machines wouldn't take money, but every time you try to play it, you would take 100 score away. And I feel like that immediately, of course, it would be incredibly more frustrating, but also I think it would be very interesting, because now you had to make a choice. So do you want to kind of risk your score in order to try to get a better item? At which point do you stop? Obviously, there would be some like mathematical perfect way of doing it, but there's always, I would say, the human element. You can always decide to be a little bit risky and try to get a really good item, because, you know, that's how this game works. Of course, it would introduce even more variance, and it would really kind of benefit the players who kind of go on the internet, or maybe try to look at the videos ahead of time, and they would see whatever a certain investment, so to say, is worth it or not. But I think it's just an interesting idea, not something I really want implemented, but you know, just a food for thought, I would say. I think that there are some uses for the reroll machines, and I think this particular daily kind of showcase that they can be an interesting and strategic decision, and not only in the terms of just trying to get a better item, but also because you're actively kind of sacrificing your points and your coins away, which can maybe, I would say, neglect you of getting getting a better item in the shop later down the run. But besides that, I did boss rush, of course, as you saw. I teleported out. It was relatively quick because I had the homing brimstone, because I think of the magician card. No, it was actually telepathy for dummies. It doesn't really matter. The same effect, right? And it did allow me to kind of break through the to bosses. It's very nice because you can stand in a very non-dangerous position and still manage to hit basically every single thing in the room. And in the end, of course, I teleported out, explored the rest of the floor. I finished the run. I pick up the trophy, and I finished in the 54th spot, which I think is like top 15 when you take out the cheaters. Our item penalty is low. Our damage penalty is on the lowish side, but I did get hit like I would say 3 or maybe 4 too many times. And overall, I would just say it was an enjoyable daily. There's really nothing more to say to it than that. I wish that more dailies were like this. And not, I don't just mean short, but I just mean where you don't really have to focus on some of the obscure mechanics of the game. And you can just kind of go to the daily, you can just play it and end it when you feel like it and still know that you're gonna end up with a good score. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I hope to see you next time.